Hey everybody, Charlie Stevens here. Thank you so much for tuning in to another guitar lesson. In this lesson we're going to learn about the blues scale. So the blues scale is kind of the same thing as the pentatonic scale. So the minor pentatonic scale, which we learned about on this channel in the key of E. So if you haven't seen that, please watch the lesson on the E minor pentatonic scale. So we're just going to take that scale and we're going to add in one note to it. Okay, this note is nicknamed the blues note, and when we add that in, we can now call the scale the blues scale. Okay, but they're more or less interchangeable. If I'm playing the minor pentatonic scale, I usually think about that more so as the minor pentatonic scale, and I think about the blues note as an option that I can add into that. I think about it that way more so than thinking about it as the blues scale where I have to play that note. I'll sort of play it when I want to. Okay, so why don't we review on the E minor pentatonic scale, and then I'll show you which note we're going to add in, where that lays out on our guitar, and how we can do that. Okay, so to review, we had open E, then we have G, then we have A, B, D, and E. Okay, those are the notes in the pentatonic scale. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 1 again. And we actually learned another octave where we played this E, then we kept going to G, A, B, D, E again. And then we even went a little higher and we reached this G since it was right here. Okay, so I call this one box 1. We'll learn how to move these around. There's a few other shapes for minor pentatonic that we can utilize as well, and we'll talk about that another time. But just so you know, this is what I think about as minor pentatonic box 1, this specific shape. So we will come back to this a lot. Okay, so I'm going to go a little bit quickly through this because there's a lesson about this. Check out the E minor pentatonic lesson if you want a more in-depth understanding of this. But what we're going to do today is play the blues scale. So we need to add in the blue note, or the blues note. And that, in the key of E, which we're in now, that note in relation to E would be the B flat. Okay, has a very bluesy sound, okay? So this note, B flat, the blues note, in relation to the key of E, we can call this the flat fifth, because B is the fifth note in the key of E, E, F, G, A, B. And since we're not quite going to B, but we're a little lower at B flat, we call this the flat fifth. Okay, sometimes this particular interval is also called the sharp fourth, because A is the fourth note, and A sharp is another name for B flat. So we could also call this A sharp and consider this the sharp 4. I usually hear it called the flat fifth in a blues context. That's usually how we think about it. This is also the interval of a tritone. It's actually exactly halfway through the octave. It's called the tritone because it's 3 whole tones away. 1, that'd be 1, 2, 3. And then it's actually 3 more till we get back to where we started. 1, 2, 3, and we're back to the octave. Okay, so that note is right in the middle, the tritone. Very important interval, very dissonant interval, and we can use it a lot the more advanced we get. But this is a great introduction to how to hear this sound as we throw it into our blues scale, okay? So we're going to go through the blues scale now, and we're just going to use our first finger to play the first fret of the A string to add in this B flat note. Ready? E, G, A. Here comes the blues note added in with the first finger. Continue on through the pentatonic scale. The next note is here. Continue on through the scale. And we're done. Okay, but we played the octave twice, right? So there must be a B flat in there somewhere too, right? Where's that going to be? Well, let's see. We have an A note right here. Another name for B flat is A sharp, right? So it must be 1 fret higher than this. Okay, see how I did that? So I had A on my 2nd fret, which hopefully you know if you watch my lesson on how to read music for the guitar and how to learn the notes on our third string. But we have our third string is G. So if we went to the first fret, that'd be G sharp. So the second fret here is A. Third fret is A sharp or B flat. We're going to call it B flat today, and this is the one we're going to need, okay? So the pentatonic scale, hopefully you already have that. Now you just need to worry about adding these two notes. Now really it's only one note, but it makes sense to think about it as two because they're in two separate places of our 2-octave scale that we're doing today. So the first one's here on the first fret of A. And the next one's here, third fret of G. And the rest of the scale is unchanged. Okay, that's the blues scale. Okay, so we can start accessing some sounds that we didn't have before when we were just messing around with our pentatonic. We have 3 notes in a row now. Pretty cool, right? We have that over here too, but it doesn't look as obviously because I'm changing strings. So when I see the 3 notes in a row, they're all on the A string here, and it's really obvious those are on the same. Those are next to each other because I can see them all on the same string. When I do this, I'm changing over my open B, but they're all next to each other too because we have a B note right here on the 4th fret. So I could play it like that, and sometimes I maybe would, but in order to stay close to what we've been learning, where it looks like the shapes we've been learning, usually we were playing our B there for E minor pentatonic. So I would stick with it there. Great exercise. We get to use the fingers that we're supposed to use. So over the 3rd fret, I'll always use my 3rd finger. Over the 1st, I'll only use my 1st finger. Only time I'll need it in this scale, actually. And on the 2nd fret, I'll always use my 2nd finger. And one thing that I like to show my students as they're memorizing this pattern is where the blue note is over here. I have kind of a trick to do it, actually. So when we're doing our pentatonic, we go through and we have open string and then the 2nd fret for a bunch of times in a row. Right? And then when we get to our B and E, those go back to the 3rd fret, open 3, open 3. Okay, so on our G string, that one's kind of in between. That one's kind of in both worlds. It's a 2nd fret note, but it's also a 3rd fret note. So I kind of think about that as like a revolving door. It takes me from the ones that are all 2nd fret and it leads me into the ones that are all 3rd fret and has both of them. Okay, cool. Well, that's it. That's the blues scale. Super easy, super fun, very useful. We'll talk a lot more about how we can use this in our improvisation, and I'll show you some songs where we can see the use of this kind of vocabulary, this kind of blues scale type of stuff. So we'll check that out in the future as well. So thank you so much for watching. I hope you're having a great day, and I look forward to seeing you again for another guitar lesson really soon. Bye.